It's so sad Steve Jobs died of Ligma.
Who the hell is Steve Jobs?
Ligma balls.
Me too, Mr. Nogi! Me too! I feel your pain. You know, I was one of the few people who were hyped to see Alan Wu because we knew he was gonna fight Ryan. We saw it, smelled it, envisioned it, tasted it, and heard it from a mile away. I thought, oh boy, we're gonna get a bloodbath to go beyond another level. And I was actually correct, but in the worst possible way imaginable! Alan Wu was completely stomped. 0 chance, 0 difficulty, and Alan Wu has been a meme ever since. So I should make this video because Alan wasn't given much of a chance. And since I'm very merciful, we will analyze his power. So did Alan Wu live up to his ancestors' legacy, or was he a twig ready to be snapped in half? Let's find out. 5,000 years ago, it appeared as if it was spewed out by the earth itself. It went on a slaughter, killing all manner of people, beasts, demons, and gods alike. So terrible was its wrath that its eyes were stained black by the blood of its victims. Its name was Wu Hei, the progenitor of the Curry, Wu, and Occident clans. These people exhibit extraordinary power, skill, and possess a distinct black sclera. Among the clan's various rituals and techniques, there lies one with an especially taboo legacy behind it. The Hei Sing is a technique made in the pursuit of immortality. It involves an interaction between a speaker and a receiver, preferably a child with a close blood relationship to the speaker. The speaker tells the child about their life, down to each and every detail, again and again and again and again and again, until the speaker's soul comes to dwell within the receiver's body. This inhumane practice was sealed away by the Curry and Wu clan, but those stuck in the Occident, the westward faction, continued to practice Hei Sing. This is where Alan Wu comes in. He is the Hei Sing recipient of Wu Hei, the first Wu born 5,000 years ago. He is related to Edward Wu, the leader of the westward faction. They currently share an alliance between the worm and the real Tokita Nico, responsible for the formless style. In the events of the story, Alan Wu participated in the Kengen vs. Purgatory tournament as a Purgatory gladiator. As a relative newcomer, he scoffed at Purgatory's strange rules. But once it was his turn to fight, he got chopped like a tree. Not much to say here, pretty disappointing for the quote-unquote progenitor. He was simply an exposition device. Now, onto his strengths and weaknesses. Alan Wu is a member of the Wu clan that traveled westward from China. Thus, he has the same level of durability, power, speed, and pain tolerance to that of the Currys. Since he is a part of this Occident group, Alan Wu is also larger in size than his Curry counterparts. Alan Wu has an ability like the removal called Guhun, which unleashes Alan Wu's latent power, but unlike the removal, Guhun also increases Alan's size, alongside his already immense power and speed. This isn't a permanent buff, but only lasts a few minutes. Alan Wu is primarily a striker who takes his opponents out with his blows, which are backed by his build and his Guhun. Although not the most imaginative, they have enough power to push a fighter like Curry Ryan around. Now, to weaknesses. Due to the simplicity of Alan Wu's strikes, it would be easy for a soft power enthusiast to redirect or parry any of Alan's blows despite the power. Alan would be at a large disadvantage against soft power. Alan Wu hasn't shown off any experience in grappling, so if he does face an opponent who is a grappling specialist, Alan will be at their complete mercy when tied to the ground. Alan Wu gloats a lot. He is very arrogant for an individual who has been around for thousands of years. This arrogance gets in the way of his fights because he frequently underestimates his opponents, paying the ultimate price in his fight with Curry Ryan. Now, to matchups. We will begin Alan Wu's matchups against Purgatory gladiators, starting with Carlos Medel. Carlos is a very fast striker whose elusiveness makes him hard to defeat. Alan would be able to tank Carlos's kicks and jabs fairly easily considering the sheer durability of the curries. Although Carlos has the superior speed, he will be caught eventually. Alan Wu would also utilize his Guhan to become even faster than before. Alan Wu wins. The Falcon is a self-styled ninja who relies on his waves of redirection, fakes, and specially trained claws to trick his opponents. A simple fighter like Alan would definitely fall for these tricks. He would most likely have to use his Guhan. With his now increased speed and power, the Falcon would no longer have the initiative, and the match would favor Alan. Considering the Falcon's frail build, he wouldn't be able to sustain Alan's blows. Alan Wu wins. Toei Mudo is a massive brute whose style revolves around redirecting his opponent's power and amplifying it with his own. Alan Wu, a striker who utilizes his specs to win, is utterly walled by Toei Mudo due to his breeding mountain and his build. Regardless of Guhan, Alan Wu loses. Yumigahama is another striker who utilizes his build to overcome his opponents. He is very poor in terms of grappling and close quarters combat. However, Alan Wu exceeds Yumigahama's build with his Guhan and would easily enter Yumi's range. Alan Wu wins. Unlike Alan Wu, Naidon is a wrestler with an advanced foresight ability. Although Alan may have an extraordinary build, Naidon's build is also in that same category. Considering Alan's simple style of combat, it would be very easy to throw him or lock his limbs. Since Naidon is very durable, he can straight tank Alan's Guhan blows. But since Naidon has the eye of the sky, he can easily foresee Alan's simple combinations. Alan Wu loses. As a practitioner of Formless, Lucian is an unpredictable striker who has many strikes at his disposal and has the flexibility to adapt to any situation. In terms of technique, Alan's simplicity would be overcome by Lucian's Formless. Build wouldn't be a deciding factor because they are both very similar. Even if Alan Wu uses Guhan, Lucian is flexible enough to overcome Alan's maximum power. As I see it, Lucian shouldn't use his own Guhan because unlike Alan, he faces severe mental and physical repercussions. But still, Lucian outdoes Alan in terms of technique. Alan Wu loses. I have covered this matchup before. Jiroda is a grappling and soft power enthusiast due to his large investment into judo. Alan Wu won't be good against such a fighter because he solely relies on his raw power and nothing else. Alan Wu loses. Time for the Kengen matches. Considering Curry Ryan's run in the Kengen Annihilation Tournament and Alan's strengths and weaknesses, Alan Wu would only last the first and second rounds. Okoye Seisu has a very solid defense that can only be bypassed by surprise attacks or more invasive maneuvers. An upfront battle would be very easy for Okoye to repel, even if his opponent was immensely powerful. Alan Wu of course has lots of power, but his simplicity is what prevents Alan from bypassing Okoye's shield. Thus, Okoye has ample time to wait for Hayami Sunka's evaluation. Once it's finished, Alan will be countered at every turn by their foresight ability. Even if Alan uses Guhan, Okoye would repel his attacks like before and wait for Hayami's instructions. Okoye's strategy would not be impeded by Alan's use of Guhan. Alan Wu loses. Julius Rinhold has the best build in Kengen Ashura, bar none. Although Alan's build is impressive, Julius is far tougher and stronger. Alan's Guhan would level the playing field, but Julius's power is the principle, whereas Alan's Guhan is temporary. Alan Wu loses. Sekabayashi's defining attribute is his sturdiness, acting, and ability to turn his own opponent's blows against him. Sekabayashi's strategy would be very effective against Alan's simplicity because he would get pissed and desperate. Even if he uses Guhan, Sekabayashi's durability would still hold out. Alan has no finishers to end the match quicker, so Sekabayashi will get into Alan's head and would finish Alan off with his wrestling. Alan Wu loses. Saw Pang is aggressive and is an opponent who boasts the toughest bones and the most powerful headbutt in the series. Alan Wu will fight toe-to-toe against Saw Pang, but owing to Saw Pang's ridiculous resilience, Alan will need to use Guhan to gain any sort of advantage. But as long as Alan sticks to his rudimentary style, people like Saw Pang could take an insane amount of blows will still be standing. Also, Alan Wu does not have a reliable finisher, whereas Hirozuka Saw Pang has the Hammer of Burma. Because Alan does not have a signature, or for that matter, any good techniques, he cannot overcome Saw Pang. Alan Wu loses. Setsuna is a dangerous combatant who can sneak up on his opponents with the blink and twist his opponents with the Raksasa palm. Alan Wu is too simple of a fighter to account for Kiryu's blink and will naturally fall prey to the Raksasa palm. It doesn't matter how naturally buff his opponents are, if his opponent doesn't have access to adamantine kata, they are screwed. Alan Wu loses. Yohei has incredible flexibility. His bones can fold around any of his opponent's strikes, and he can extend his limbs to increase the range and lethality of his arm whips. This ability makes him more susceptible to styles revolving around joint locks. Alan Wu, being a simple fighter with a big ego, wouldn't consider Yohei's weaknesses and wouldn't be able to exploit it. Although removal gives Alan Wu a lot of mobility, his strikes wouldn't damage Yohei because he can fold his body around him. Alan Wu loses. Gao Lang is the fastest striker in the series due to his dedication to boxing and Muay Thai. Although Gao Lang outclasses Alan Wu in striking, Alan's Guhan can make up for it. Without investment into defense, Gao Lang gets overwhelmed by Alan even if his striking is basic. However, after gaining his partially trained unbreakable right fist, Gao Lang has some of the defense that he sorely lacked. With this fist, he can thwart Alan's basic strikes with ease, and every right straight will damage Alan considerably. Against Ashura Gao Lang, Alan Wu wins, but against Omega Gao Lang, Alan Wu loses. Now, for the first round. Adam Dudley has very cool trunk muscles that enable him to strike at maximum capacity, even in awkward positions. Although this is cool, Alan Wu is a basic fighter who will not pull Adam Dudley into awkward positions anyways. Even considering Omega Dudley, who has begun to utilize his trunk muscles, we haven't seen anything of it just yet. Therefore, Alan Wu wins. Konoharu is a heavy boy. Although he is very athletic, sporting the body of a true gamer, the excess weight puts a lot of strain onto Haruo's knees. Alongside this incredible weight, he also has a low amount of stamina. Alan Wu would easily exploit these weaknesses because he is much smaller than him. When Haru does deplete his stamina, he will rely on his reserves and enter his extreme metabolic state. However, Alan's Guhan could easily make up for Haruo's second wind. Alan Wu wins. Ryan defeated Mokichi Robinson with nothing but his raw power and removal, sending Mokichi into extended rehab for the better part of 2 years. Who's to say Alan Wu with a much beefier frame and Guhan couldn't do the same? Mokichi's Buritsu is a combination of techniques and skills from Jujutsu, boxing, and Judo. Everything from his Jujutsu finger locks, jabs, and footwork would be ineffective at surpassing the build gap between the two. Therefore, Mokichi would need to rely on his minimal Judo skills. Judo is the skill for taking down giants, but his skill isn't as great as the Masaki brothers or Jiroda, so Alan Wu will be able to sustain his throws. Alan Wu wins. Inaba Ryo has very powerful hair that he manipulates to grapple with his opponents from a distance. However, his hair is still susceptible to being pulled off with sheer power or sliced. Alan Wu has enough raw power to tear off Inabe's hair with Guhan. Alan Wu wins. Murabuchi is a brawler who doesn't rely on many techniques, but rather his super fast knee and his raw power. Alan Wu would most likely outclass Murabuchi in raw power with his base and Guhan. Even if Alan gives Murabuchi prep time for his world's fastest knee, Alan could tank it. Alan Wu wins. Kei Zaburo is a ballet dancer who has a wide range of kicks at his disposal, of which he can amplify by spinning around. Although Koizaburo outclasses Alan in terms of technique and maneuverability, Koizaburo would get caught eventually by Alan's superior frame, power, and speed with Guhan. Alan Wu wins. Meguro Masaki is a judo practitioner who feels pleasure when he is damaged. He is capable of throwing his opponents even when they are not wearing a gi. Even with Alan's superior firepower with the Guhan, Meguro Masaki would easily sustain the damage and use Alan's blows as opportunities to throw him. Once on the ground, Meguro Masaki would have the advantage. Alan Wu loses. The sumo wrestler from the Juro division is hardly a wrestler, but a very powerful striker. His slaps can push his opponents to the brink, his initial charge has blinding speed behind it, and his kick has the power of a knockout blow. Alan Wu can most likely sustain Kuozan's initial rush of slaps, but would have difficulty handling his low stance charge and his kick, two techniques that almost defeated Tsukabayashi Jun. Even if Alan uses Guhun, Kuozan is tanky enough to sustain his blows. Alan Wu loses. Karo has trunk muscles like Adam Dudley, the sense of balance of Sawada Koizuburo, and a momentary blackout strike utilizing the fist processing skills of Ikedzimi. Due to his large frame, he can also dish out powerful blows. Alan Wu has the constitution to tank Yoshinari strikes and launch a counterattack with Guhun, but due to Alan's simple style, he would fall prey to the Ikedzimi strike and Yoshinari's combat style, utilizing his trunk muscles and balance. With these two options, Karo Yoshinari can effectively outlast Alan's Guhun, giving Yoshinari an advantage. Alan Wu loses. Nezu is a brawler who relies on his raw power like Alan Wu, but Nezu doesn't have the same durability nor the same power. Therefore, Alan Wu wins. The Razor's Edge is a powerful technique that causes lots of damage and blood loss. Against a simple fighter like Alan Wu, Rihito can easily predict Alan's movements and launch his technique as effectively as he wants. This would cause Alan to lose an extended bout against Rihito. But can Alan Wu defeat Rihito before he succumbs to blood loss? Absolutely. With Guhun, Alan could easily rush through Rihito with his increased power and speed, giving Rihito little time to predict his opponent. Because Alan has the option to blitz his opponent, Alan Wu wins. Nikaido's Heavenly Wolf Fist is a form of hypnosis that redirects his opponent's attention, opening them up for a single strike. This has worked against more skilled fighters like Kiryu Satsuna, so it would work against a simpler fighter like Alan Wu. However, this single strike doesn't have enough power to defeat his opponents. Therefore, Alan Wu will run him down with his Guhun enhanced power and speed. Alan Wu wins. Siba is an actor who imitates the styles of other fighters. If Takayuki faced Alan Wu, he should incorporate soft power and grappling techniques from whomever he has copied in the past. Although Takayuki is more creative than Alan, whatever strategy he does come up with wouldn't be genuine because either he lacks the power to use them at max capacity, or he lacks the physiological requirements. Due to this nature of Takayuki's style, he cannot exploit Alan's weaknesses properly. Therefore, Alan Wu wins. Hanafusa cannot feel pain, giving him the opportunity to stuff his body with hidden weapons made from his own bones, or even bioweapons that can ensure a kill regardless of victory or defeat. Even without these especially designed armaments, Hanafusa has the skill to precisely attack acupuncture points, making it easier to defeat larger opponents. Even in the event that he dies, Hanafusa can reanimate himself with gizmos he set up in his own body. Alan Wu, if confronted by Hanafusa Hajime, should understand that he was set up and is about to die for his crimes. Alan Wu loses. Although a very frail opponent, Kanada Suikichi is a practitioner of the Kuzan style, which specializes in soft techniques that disrupts his opponent's balance. Kanada also sports expert foresight, with the drawback that he has to closely analyze his opponent before achieving it. This weakness is his downfall because opponents who are insanely quick will completely demolish him. Alan Wu Guhun would easily fill that requirement. Alan Wu wins. Okubo Naoya is the most well-balanced fighter who has great grappling and striking skills. His main strategy is to cycle between blows, throws, locks, and holds. Alan Wu, being a simple fighter, would be exploited by this strategy and it would easily exhaust him. Even with Guhun, Okubo is flexible enough to adapt to Alan's full power. Alan Wu loses. Alan Wu was a massive disappointment. As the receiver of Wu Hei's personality, he should have been more of a consequential character, or at the very least, have the skill to challenge Curry Rayon. But I guess not. Mentioning Alan's possible improvements would not be necessary because he is dead, but let's go over it anyways. 1. Alan needs to stop gloating. He should focus on victory and respect his opponents enough to be aware of their power. His arrogance is his number one weakness. 2. learn some technique. Alan has no excuse. He's literally a part of the assassination business. It is ridiculous that he resorts to basic attacks like an amateur. The Westward faction must have lots of knowledge on close quarters combat. They should be one of the best resources in the world for martial arts. It is sad that Alan has wasted it. In conclusion, Alan Wu has sullied his ancestors' legacy by being a complete meathead who is satisfied by his raw power and sees no need to improve. Hi, it's the cyborg whale named after Italian cheese and a dessert item. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy Kengen Ashura content, make sure to subscribe. From the current chapter, Nicholas Lebanar, or rather his imposter, seems very interesting. I am anticipating more information about his invasive techniques. But until Nicholas's tenure in the story has come to a close, I will be analyzing Lucian of the Three Demon Fists, Centipede, next. Until then, have a great day.